or to find it. Inventing has about the same chance as a lottery ticket. So we formed a company that looked for technology worldwide. And I liked chemistry because I thought it was a really simple thing. You mix a bunch of cheap stuff together and sell it for more. That's basically chemistry. Since I'm not that educated, that's my understanding of it anyway. So we had submissions from thousands of PhDs across the world. And actually people started hiring us, large companies started hiring us and saying, okay, can you find technology for us? So we found out, of course, the large companies, all they did was have committee meetings. They would actually never get anything done. So I dropped those contracts, and we found, short of it is, I found this technology at a trade show. I went there and somebody introduced us to this company, and we said, I had a meeting with them, and at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I thought, oh my goodness, I got 8 hours of meetings, and I'm not making it. I'm not going to be able to get through it. So I went back to them and I said, didn't you have some energy, something? Could I try that? So they gave me this thing, and I said, whoa, this I can sell. So for 7 to 8 hours, it was really great. So I said, okay, I'll figure it out. So I went back to them, and they were science guys, and I'm just a lowly business guy. So they really didn't talk to me and just get lost kid. So I said, okay, I don't have a whole lot of respect for most science guys anyway, because I think they don't really do that much. It's just hide behind big words. So I said, all right, I'll figure it out. It can't be that hard. So fortunately, it took me about 30 days. Figured it out. And what I did was, instead of a large drink, I made it a small one. The reason is, few things. One, I thought, why is somebody tired and thirsty at the same time? That doesn't make any sense. So why not make it small? And the other thing is, from the retail level, it was, do I have a big bottle and compete against Coke and Pepsi for cooler space? That sounded really dumb. So I said, okay, let's not do that. If I make it small and I'm in the front of the counter, I'm competing against keychains and batteries, which I can handle that. So we made it small. We made it, actually, the first one was 1 ounce. Unfortunately, I couldn't read it, so we made it 2 ounces. So we got it out there. I thought, okay, let me find out if this thing has legs. So we put it in the largest vitamin store. They have about over 1,000 stores. And the first week it sold 200 bottles, which wasn't very good. And so I said, okay, let me just leave it there. I'm not going to advertise, not do anything. And within 6 months, at the 6th month, it was selling 10,000 a week, which for that store, that was amazing. So I said, okay, now we know this thing has legs. So then we went out, and of course I had no experience in consumer products. All we were armed with was common sense and, hey, we can do this. It's not a big deal, this kind of thinking is, of course, very familiar in this neck of the woods. So we started with what was called trunk slammers. We had guys with, in the back of their car, that throw stuff in. They'd go from store to store peddling stuff. We started there, then we got into drugstores, then we got into Walmart, and now we have 4 different items at checkout at every Walmart checkout, which is the most difficult space in the world to get. And we became one of the largest consumer products in the world. We are the largest dietary supplement brand in the world. And really, all of it was just common sense stuff. It wasn't anything. People would say, oh my God, how did you do it? It was amazing. I tell people, look, we weren't that smart. The only thing we did was we just didn't do dumb stuff. And that really differentiated us from pretty much all corporations. So I mean, even to this day, people say, how many people do you have? I said, well, in our offices, and including marketing, sales, accounting, everything all together, we have 65 people. Okay, not including our plant, which has 250, which is run as a separate company. And they say, wow, you must be really efficient. I said, no, we're not efficient at all, to tell you the truth. We just don't do useless stuff. So all I did was cut out everything that didn't make money, or didn't improve the product, didn't make the customer happy. It's got to go. And doing that, you get rid of like hundreds and hundreds of potential. We don't do strategic initiatives, and I can't even spell that stuff. So it was very different than what we stayed out of jargon, partly because I'm not familiar with all the MBA stuff. But there's so much jargon, and I can't spell most of it. And I think the people that use it also don't understand it. But they have to use it. I mean, how many times have you got on a resume and every second line there's strategic? Yeah. So we just did it differently. We said, no, just use common sense and just go. And do it now. To give you examples, we don't have, our meetings last, most of the meetings last about a minute or two. Because most of the time, it's like a decision of saying, I'm on the roof, should I take the stairs or the fast way down? It's really not a decision. And yet, they'll schedule a half hour, an hour meeting with 18 people. Should we jump off the roof or take the stairs? Most of the time, at least the people we have, would rather take the stairs. So we did really, really simple stuff. And our whole job is to make the business really simple. It usually flies in the face of all experts. Experts do not like simple. So there's lots of stuff we did that was completely different. And it turned into, one of the largest brands in the world. And then I thought, okay, this is really big and we're making, ridiculous amounts of money. What do I do with this thing? So, actually what happened much later is that, the Gates Foundation contacted me to be one of their giving pledge.org or something, whatever. So they said, write me a letter as to why are you giving away 90% of your money? So, I jotted down something in 10 minutes, I wrote it to them, and they were all like, okay, this is the best letter. Because what I said was, I have two choices. I can wreck my son's life, or I can give it away. So, do really stupid stuff, or do not stupid stuff, So we kind of went this way and said, okay, let's not do dumb stuff. And really, it's when you have this, what else are you going to do? Somebody said to me one time, money doesn't buy brains. And my reply was, you're right, money doesn't buy brains, but usually it buys stupidity. Because a lot of folks that get a little bit of money tend to slide downwards in terms of the intelligence area. Do useless stuff or get into personal consumption, which only makes them more miserable. So we decided, okay, let's just do this. So today, we are the largest charity in India that nobody knows. We affect... The other guys are nice guys. I'm not saying that they're not nice guys, but they tend to do more announcements than they do work. I have a simple benchmark, and people have... We don't have the big fancy, how do you gauge whether you did well or not? We don't do that. So the only thing we look for is how many people that are underprivileged did we significantly affect? That's it. Because you really don't know, sitting behind a desk in fancy air-conditioned office, what they need out there. One guy, I remember, when I went to this meeting of these big shots, billionaire types, and the one guy says, well, how should we do this so that it's sustainable? So I got a little annoyed and I said, it's not about you. It's about them. If you have a business, it's about the customer. In the same way, you go out to the field and you find out what do they need, and then do that. Don't sit here and say, okay, a guy's starving over there, I think you should get an education. I'm going to be dead tomorrow, but great, I'll have an education. So people don't really understand what to do there. So what we did, I'll give you an example of something we could never have come up with. There's an area in Bengal area that it's on the river, and there's 150,000 people that live on the river. So we have several boats that are clinics, and they travel from village to village constantly and serve that community of 150,000. Now, who would have come up with that? I mean, you had to be out there and recognize the need and then do it. So what we did, because we really, most things I really don't know what I'm doing. So in the same thing, I realized, the charity, that also I didn't know what I was doing. So I said, okay, if I don't know what I'm doing, why don't I find people who do know what they're doing? So what we do is we fund other charities that are good guys. So our job is we find guys that are doing really good work and say, we'll adopt you. You don't have to worry about funding from here on. We'll adopt you. And in India, there are amazingly good people. There are amazingly bad people there also. But there are really, really amazing people that sacrifice so much. And all we do is say, okay, we'll adopt you. Sometimes they say, well, we're running a school of the blind. Would you take it? And we're looking at it, are you kidding? We don't want it. We don't want this. You run it. We'll just support you. So that's the charity side of it. Some of the other projects I'm involved with are going to be some of the largest projects we believe in the world. One is, the biggest problem in the world that is not very, not fashionable, is water. And from what I've seen, not too many people are seriously doing work in that area. There's some work going on, but it doesn't seem very serious to me. So we already have a working prototype to turn salt water into fresh water. That is going to, and I've put together a skunk works, sort of a group of people that actually make stuff. I hate to tell you, I'm sort of not much with engineers that sit in front of not software guys, and that's fine. But in the mechanical and whatever, in that side, guys sit in front of computers, and there's hundreds of them. One time we had a meeting with the automotive guys, and we were involved in this project. And I said, look, guys, I don't get it. You have 6,000 engineers, and I open the hood next year, and it looks the same. What'd you do? So, to me it was, okay, do something. Make something. Make something better. Make something useful. So what we've got is we have also launched a company that's making gas generators, which are 0.5 megawatt and up. So these are fairly large generators. And desalination, or making water pure, is really about energy. It's not about the water. It's sort of energy, then water, then food. Without which nothing else works. And the time is coming when a billion people are going to die because there's no water. The rich people will just move. Poor people will just die. And there's not much going on there. So we are investing in that area. We've already gotten to the point where everybody keeps hounding me from all over the world saying, can we come? Can we come? I said, no. Let me get it done, and then we'll call you. The country's calling us. So the one thing that I want to do is, if you're doing charity and you're not serious charity, large scale, and you're not doing water, the rest is nonsense. Because if they're dead, you can't really help them after that. So that's some of the areas. And the other area we're working on, which is also really large, is we have a medical device that we're doing in Singapore that is going to affect overall health in a way probably last 50 years nothing has helped. It's a simple device that affects circulation. So it increases circulation, and that'll affect almost, 80% of all major diseases in a very significant way. You actually feel better. The reason nobody else came up with it, the funny part is the technology was around for 25 years. Nobody knew what to use it for. And it was too simple. And science guys do not like simple. Because you can't write a paper, you can't get acknowledged by your peers. None of that happens if it's simple. So somebody's got to do the simple stuff. So this is what we do. So in these areas, we're going to, these three, they're businesses, but they're also really, in the end, for nonprofit, because the people who will gain from it will be nonprofit, and we'll probably end up making a bunch of money too, which then we'll go back and donate it again. So each of these businesses will be looked to be at least several times the size of 5-hour. So, and you guys should really know this well. Every time I come to Silicon Valley, everybody talks in terms of billions. There's no millions here. There's only billions. And at first I thought, wow, that's really impressive. Until I find out they weren't talking about profit and they weren't talking about revenue. So I said, what are you guys talking about then? And it was, okay, we just make up numbers as to what something is worth, and we discuss it, and we have a valuation. I thought, wow, what a way to run a business. I live in the Midwest. For us, a business is something that makes a profit. We sort of, in our company, when we discuss sizes of business, it's $1 billion business. That means net income, not a greater fool theory, like, okay, we'll build this thing that makes no money, has no sales, and we'll sell it to some idiot who's going to pay us $1 billion. That's a great strategy, but I wouldn't call it business, at least not wherever I'm from. Here, it seems to be the norm, which is really interesting. I mean, you do a whole bunch of stuff like this. It's sort of like what we used to call gambling. But here it's called business. So very interesting. I don't think I want to learn from you guys. So I think we'll go to the same old stuff and say, okay, look, we're just going to make good old stuff that's useful. And some of the things are, I'll tell you how we work in our company. Again, we don't have MBA speak. So somebody comes to me with a project or something that needs to be done, and the first question I ask is it useful? How is it useful? Okay. And if it's not useful, it better be entertaining. And if it's not useful or entertaining, there's only one other basket left, and that's useless. Okay. Now, to us, business is really not rocket science. It's just do useful stuff, guys. And avoid useless. I mean, you came here, you did all this, was it useful? I have my feeling it wasn't that entertaining. So, it's just simple stuff. We're sort of students of simple, rather than, my job, I think, is to make complex simple, whereas it seems the consultant's job is to make simple complicated. We use some experts and consultants sometime, and usually when a science guy says it can't be done, to me that's validation that it can. So it's a different, because we define stuff, like expert. What's an expert? Expert is someone who knows everything that was. He's really good at what was. And if you ask him about what will be, he says, no, that can't be done, because I'm an expert on what was. Well, why do I need you? Because if I wanted to do what was, I don't have a business. So, we do talk to experts, just make sure that maybe they've thought of something, or the history of that area is something that we haven't thought of, but we really don't rely on them for the future, because that's just silly. Yeah. So anyway, that's our approach to business. Everything is really